6 years ago, Miral Kotb was a programmer at Bloomberg, working on financial software. She was also a dancer and had always wanted to combine both her creative and more technical pursuits into a more fuller expression of who she was. So she put together iLuminate, and we not only have the pleasure of watching them dance today, we also get to hear from Miral herself. So please give it up for Miral Kotb.
I've just got three things to say to you. Best act tonight, best act in the live shows, best new act in America.
By far, the best thing I have seen on this show.
You all are a world-class act.
That is $1 million act right there.
It's groundbreaking what you do. It's incredible. It's breathtaking.
This concert is put on by the First Lady, just over my shoulder.
The very talented iLuminate.
What a great idea. The outcome, a dazzling display of technology coupled with some cool moves that wowed the judges on America's Got Talent.
A Brooklyn woman who loves dance and computers decided why not combine the two.
So cool. Can we just say that's so cool?
They blew us all away with their innovative light suits and their amazing dance moves. So good. So great. How on earth did you come up with iLuminate?
And it used to be I danced for my heart and software was more for my mind. And I just decided what would I do if I brought them together, and this is what I came up with.
Absolutely brilliant. Brilliant. That's what I'm talking about. Standing on. Standing on.
This act is about technology, creativity, and someone with a vision.
That was fascinating. It was original. It's wonderful.
Now, that was superb.
You create everything from zero, and it's just brilliant.
Now they've landed here in New York with an off-Broadway show called Artists of Light.
To get the respect of people around you for what you really know how to do, and to not be afraid to do it, it will last your whole life. It doesn't go away.
Miral came up with a germ of an idea, and look at what she's done with it.
Sensational.
Hi. Thank you. How's everybody doing? Have a good lunch? Great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me today and for having iLuminate. It's an honor to be here. And I'm going to tell you guys the story of how iLuminate came to be and encourage you guys to do what I did, because I think you'll be surprised by what can come from it. So as Sandeep mentioned, I have a background in dance and technology. I've been dancing since I was able to walk, just for fun. And I've been writing software since I was 9. And both of them were big passions of mine. I never really chose one over the other. It was always more emotional for me when I danced and more of a mental challenge when I would write software. So I kept these worlds pretty separate. I never really brought them together. And the way that worked was I went to college in New York City at Columbia University, and while I was at Columbia, I danced in the city with different groups and just kept doing what I love. Once I graduated from Columbia, I had quite a bit of college loans that I had to pay off. So I went ahead and said, okay, before I start really committing myself to dance, I'm going to pay off those loans. So I got a job, and I was very blessed to then find out how much I really did enjoy writing software, because at the job at Bloomberg, what was supposed to be something that I did for just a few years and then start dancing professionally, I actually did for 6 years, because it was quite enjoyable to write financial software. I grew within the company, and they gave me quite a few responsibilities, and I learned a lot about the back end of how to make trades happen quickly and efficiently around the world. So once I was at Bloomberg for 6 years, I decided I wanted to then pursue dance again. But I still really missed writing software. So what happened was I thought, okay, what can I do to do both the things I love? And I went to a developers conference for Apple, of all places, and they were talking about how wireless technology is really booming and how your iPhone can start controlling many things from Wi-Fi. And this was when this was rather new, about 7 years ago. So I thought, well, what could I do with Wi-Fi and this new chip in live performance setting? Because dance is it's very separated. Usually you have the spectator and you have the dancer. And I wanted to see how we could bridge that gap between spectator and dancer in a way that brings the audience into the dance more. And also to really feature the dancers, because I think if you guys have ever gone to concerts or live events, oftentimes the dancers are on stage, but either they're behind a singer or there's so much lighting around them that sometimes you miss what they're actually doing. So I wanted to find a way to bring the attention to the dancers and make the audience feel more connected. Because one thing I also learned was a lot of people who didn't come from a dance background really didn't understand dance. So when I was working at Bloomberg and I'd tell people, oh, I'm going to see a performance, or my company is doing this or that, they would be curious but afraid to go see a show because they say, I don't understand dance, I don't get it. And I wanted to bridge that gap too and create something where people felt more comfortable while going to see a dance performance by bringing in another element. So with all of this in mind, I thought, how could I do this? And the idea of lighting up the dancers and communicating with them wirelessly through these lights came to my mind, and as you can see, that's what happened. And it's been an incredible journey. What I really, really love about iLuminate is the collaboration of art and technology and how one cannot exist without the other. It's very interwoven. So in a room at any given moment, you'll have choreographers, artistic directors, dancers, seamstresses, wardrobe professionals, sketch artists who design the suits, technicians who build the suits, software developers who program the suits, and software and hardware engineers who build the hardware the dancers are wearing in the same room, collaborating to create what you just saw, one of these shows. And that is so exhilarating and inspiring for me, because for so long these worlds have been separated, and I don't think it needs to be separated anymore. And I think that that's actually happening more and more in the world. You'll see STEM turn into STEAM, as many of you know, and it's really getting more and more evident when you watch all the new technologies and ideas that are coming around. So we're even bringing this to education. So now we're even giving students in intermediate school and high school the ability to collaborate together through dance and technology, and we're bringing dance students in with the software engineers so that the software developers can program the lights and the dancers can wear the light suits and make up their own routines, and then the technicians can actually build the suits. And this is all within, as I said, intermediate and high school ages, and that's further influencing people to see how art and technology can become something that's merged together rather than kept separate. Because let's face it, if you guys remember, intermediate school, high school, especially any software developers out there, it was hard because people never really understood what we did, and it was always so separated. And now we're really trying to push this collaboration at a young age so that students really learn how to respect each other and what they do from a professional standpoint for what people's skills are, rather than staying separated in their cliques. And so all of this happened when I challenged myself to bring together two very different worlds, which is a dance and a technology. And today I would love to talk to you about how important that is and how you can bring the things that you love to do into your workplace and think outside of the box. Because when you come into work every day, you have very specific tasks or projects that you're working on, and you start to get into the routine, work on these projects, get to your timeline to make sure everything is efficient, bug testing, all of that great stuff. But what about if you have a love for playing the guitar, or a love for singing, or I don't know, there's so many different things, building toys, or whatever it is that you love to do outside of work. Think about what would happen if you brought that love into your work every day, into your software development, into your testing. The skill sets that you have when you learn how to play a piece of music could really change the way you approach the way you write software or the way you explore bugs in code, because I know all you guys know, software development is incredibly creative. It's very driven by creativity. Every day that you come in and you have to solve a problem, there's 100 different ways to approach that project, that bug, whatever it is that you're working on. And if you let yourself think about how you approach the other things that you love when you're doing this, you'll be really surprised at what will come. I know I was quite happy and surprised by what came from that. And also, I want to touch base on how women really should push themselves within the technical field, because I've never allowed myself to feel intimidated as a woman in technology. I've written software, as I said, from a very young age, and I always was one of the quieter software developers. I wouldn't really talk about it as much. I was more the type who would just work. And sometimes that would be misconstrued as either me not knowing what I'm doing, or just a little stigmas about just the personality that I brought into the software development world, and we need to change those stigmas. It's okay to be quieter, or it's okay to be a little bit more yourself when you approach software. Women are different than men, and rather than trying to conform to the software world as a woman, we need to pave our own way, because what we bring to the table is incredibly important and very unique. And I love to work with men, women, people from different countries, people from different backgrounds, people from different education, whether it was through college or through just learning software on their own. It's such an inspiring field, because the way that the mind works and the way that different people approach writing software and solving problems is fascinating to me. So I hope that with our education program especially, we're really trying to push that boundary of women in technology, the idea of the computer scientists and the stigmas that come from that, and push people to learn how to accept you for who you are, and learn how to work together and respect each other for what we do, and also to think outside of the box and try to find ways to really merge things that you love into your everyday life. And today, if there's one thing I challenge you to do, is think about what you love to do when you go home and when you go to work tomorrow. Do something, bring that skill set into one of your tasks, and see if that opens your mind up to how you can merge those two loves, or how you can change the way you approach your day-to-day tasks at work. Because that's basically what I came up with, iLuminate. So thank you so much for having me, and thank you. Thank you.
Amazing. So Miral, I realized when I was introducing you, when I was talking about iLuminate in the morning, I was also making the same mistake of saying you had a creative side and then a programming side. And it's sort of a flawed thing to say, because creating programming is obviously a very creative process.
Very much so.
Can you talk a little bit about how, as a younger person, college, at Bloomberg, how dance helped you with the programming side or the Bloomberg side of your life?
Absolutely, that's a great question, thank you. When I go into the studio as a choreographer and a dancer, what I love to do more than anything is improvise or freestyle, which is where you put some music on and you just allow yourself to let the music lead your body before you actually create movement. And when writing software, sometimes I approach things similarly. There's two ways to do it. Sometimes you want to have a task where you write out like a project scope, and then you have an algorithm plan before you actually start developing. And I kind of did it the opposite. I usually would just start basically freestyle writing code. If I knew what the problem was, I knew the variables I needed, and I would just start going and then adding variables as needed. And then, of course, once I had this outline that I freestyled, then I would go back and I would make it more efficient. I would make it cleaner, better to read, get rid of as many bugs as I could, and make it more succinct. But the start of software for me when I was writing was very freestyle thinking, and that came from dancing and the idea in dance where you can listen to music or just be inspired by something without having to have an end product right away.
Excellent. And then also in software, we have the idea of an MVP or a minimum viable product. You were telling me backstage about starting out 6 years ago, one of Chris Brown's choreographers recognizing what you were doing and then incorporating you into his show. I'm sure at that time, iLuminate wasn't as developed, wasn't as sophisticated as it is now. Can you talk a little bit about the MVP and the iterations that you went through from there?
Absolutely. So when we started, it was actually similar to what you see now on the front end, but on the back end, it was about 1,000 times more stressful. There was a lot of more manual activity happening to get the cues to go. The suits were not very robust, so they would break quite a bit. The Wi-Fi, we did not have it figured out to the point where we could withstand different environments. And it was a lot of gray hairs type of a project. And as the company grew and we brought more people in, the technical team really taught us how to build suits that would last longer. Encase the lights in ways so that they don't break every time the dancers put on the light suit. Make the suits themselves more comfortable and a little bit lighter for the dancers to wear. Make them look cleaner so that they don't look like they have wires dangling. And then on the software side, we had a hardware engineer build our own hardware that the dancers wear that's a lot safer and takes care of many of the things that we were dealing with on the hardware side so that it was more efficient. And then in the software side, I couldn't tell you how much we've expanded it. It's just, touch wood, it runs a lot smoother now. And we're able to go from having a 3-minute number to having a whole show, as we do in the off-Broadway show, that's an hour and a half. And it runs from one touch of a button.
Amazing. And in closing, I think you were talking a little bit about the educational work you were doing, and you also mentioned the off-Broadway show. Can you just give people a little bit more detail on that?
Absolutely. Actually, on Monday, I'm flying out to LA, where Google and iLuminate is partnering up to create the iLuminate project, which is where we're working with middle schools in the LA area, kind of underprivileged schools, to bring them the light suits and the technology. And it's quite exciting because it's an after-school program, which we did also at an art school last summer. Basically, the dancers work with one of our choreographers, Flips, he's a very well-known b-boy. I'm sure if you guys watch any dance movies, you've seen him. He's going to be working with the dancers and teaching them routine. And then Nicole, who's one of our technicians, and Sam, who's actually here with you guys today, backstage, they're going to work with the technical students and teach them how to build light suits and program the lights for a show. And then the culmination of that is going to be a presentation where the dancers perform, the students actually perform their own dance, which is quite exciting.
Very cool. And
yeah.
And we're not quite done yet, are we?
No, I mean...
you guys want to see iLuminate one more time?
Yeah, no.
All right, let's bring them out. Thank you so much, Miral Kotb, and iLuminate one more time, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's do it. Thank you. Thank you.